In today's podcast episode, I want to share with you 8 different ways that I have used AI to level up my life, both when it comes to my business, my personal life, and me as a human evolving and growing and becoming a little bit wiser. And the reason I want to share this episode with you today is because I just dropped off my dad and his wife at the airport, LAX. They had traveled from Australia to the US because they have some work conference and meetings here in the US, and they stopped over in LA for 24 hours where I got to yesterday spend the day with them, and I got 30,000 steps because the entire day was just walking around from one place to the other. The only time we really sat down was when we were having meals or coffee, and that's just how we like to hang out when we're together because we get to walk and speak and get a little bit of experiences. We were walking to Santa Monica and Venice and all around. However, on these long walks, they were asking me about my life, and I was sharing with them, like I've shared with you on this podcast before, that I feel like the quality of my life has gone up so much over the past year. And there's different reasons for that. But when we entered the topic of my work and their work, they just started a business together a couple of years ago now, but it's still in the early stages. We were talking about the use of AI, and I have found that different things within my work has just 10x'd the speed because I now have this tool available for me. And I thought that it would potentially be useful for some of you guys out there who are struggling to make everything work. And hopefully some of the little things that I share here, maybe you're already using it and it's just a nice listen as you're on your drive to work or running errands or just walking around doing different things in your house, to listen to some of the ways that I use AI, because AI can be scary, but it can also be a really powerful tool if we use it in the right way. And I don't just use AI for my business. I use it for my personal life, my relationships, and just, well, sometimes it's even my therapist. So here are the 8 different ways that I use AI in order for me to improve my life. And the first thing that I want to share with you is how I use it for my business, for my work, for my content. I'm not someone who has used AI for complete content creation. I do believe that the reason why my content does well is because it is very original, it is very creative. However, there are certain things that I can use AI for when I am coming up with content ideas. For instance, this podcast episode, I wrote down on my phone as I was doing my breakfast, my coffee, and even when I was working a little bit after having dropped off my dad and his wife at the airport, like wrote down different ways that I remembered that I use AI to improve my life. And I had written down all these different notes on my notepad, which is what I typically do when I want to create a podcast episode on some topic. I will write the different notes down as they come to me. But what I then will do is, if it's all over the place, I'll ask AI to please give me like a numbered list of all of these different things that I've written down that I use AI for. And that way it's just, when I sit down here to talk, I don't need to like look through my notes and it's not too all over the place. It's just very simple, outlined, all the things that I want to share. I don't read a script. I just speak from my heart, from my soul, but I have like the titles of the 8 different things so that I don't forget something. And that does save me a little bit of time, because otherwise I would have had to manually go in and look at all my notes and then write a structure myself. But AI just outlines all of my different ideas in a little bit of a better way. And in terms of podcast and content, I also, for instance, the title of this podcast episode, I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be yet, but I have some ideas in my head, and those ideas I will write down and share with ChatGPT. And then I will say, come up with 10 amazing podcast titles for this episode. And then sometimes I don't like any of them, but then I'll play around and brainstorm with ChatGPT, and we'll come up with the title of the podcast that I think will be the best, because a title of a podcast is everything, right? Like if the podcast title is terrible, nobody's going to click on it unless you just like listening to my podcast and you're one of those, real supporters that just like to listen to everything and anything I share. So that in itself saves me time to be able to brainstorm on podcast titles. I also do that for YouTube titles. I also have used AI in my content. So if you watch my Instagram content, you'll know that I always do like what I used to do, as in like, let's say, scroll at night or eat cakes or whatever it is that I would do, come up with excuses as to why I don't need to work out hard at the gym today, versus the new me, the ideal me that, pushes herself to the limit, that makes the healthy nutritional choices and, shows up in the way that I really deep down want to, but sometimes my procrastination or comfort zone is trying to drag me down. So I make these two versions of me. And sometimes I wanted to share that let's say it's a meal, and it's when I eat out, it is impossible for me to eat healthy. And then the other version of me is when I eat out, I always find healthy, nutritious, high protein choices. Because those two sentences are so long, but the message is there in the long sentences, I'll ask ChatGPT, hey, is there a way for me to shorten the sentence? Because people don't have a lot of time to, especially with Reels, right? Everything goes so fast. So I'll be what are different ways that we could shorten this sentence, but still get the main messaging across? So little things like that, I will be able to, instead of me sitting and brainstorming on shorter ways to put this one sentence together, ChatGPT shares 10 different ways that I can shorten it and it still makes sense. And oftentimes none of them work, but then I'll keep brainstorming and then eventually that one sentence that does work will come together. Another way that we, with my podcast clips in the past, have used ChatGPT is there are different platforms, and you can use this, obviously in so many ways, depending on your niche, how you work, is put in the whole episode into an Opus clip, for example, or another AI tool that then will choose the top moments of that episode. And then I'll know, okay, this moment from the episode is pretty attention grabbing. It's really powerful. There are some good statements that were shared. And then I can use that as a short clip and draw people from that short clip into actually listening to the long form episode. So the way I like to use AI when it comes to my business and my wording is that I am still me. I think I have created the community I have online because I am who I am. I speak from my heart, as you can hear on this episode, but I can use AI to kind of expand. So it's still my voice, but sometimes it helps me, instead of sitting for an hour or so to come up with the perfect sentence or title, etc., outline, etc., it can help me shorten the time of me nailing the thing that I already have shared that isn't my voice, but in a more improved, better way. I've also used AI to help me with emails. So I'll write a draft for an email. For instance, it's a proposal or it's a more formal email to someone, I don't know, something business related. And I'm from Denmark. I do the best I can, but there are different grammar errors. So I'll write out the email, the points that I want to come across, and then I'll ask ChatGPT to just continue using my wording, my expression, but just clean it up. I have made a new hire in my business, and to make that job post, I wrote to ChatGPT everything that I wanted to have the job involve and the person to be passionate about and enjoy. And then I had ChatGPT kind of go through it and make it more of a official job posting situation with still my wording and my very important things that I wanted to have be a part of it. And then I obviously always, when I either, if it's an email or it's a job post, go in and make the changes that I want to make, because ChatGPT makes a lot of mistakes, but it's just useful to know that I'm not making 10 different grammar mistakes in that email that I'm sending or in that job post that I'm wanting to post to hire a new team member. I also use AI as a learning tool, because every time in my life, as I go throughout my day and I hear about a new supplement or I hear about something that I don't know what is, I've made it a habit to either write it down in my notes or right away go into ChatGPT and ask, hey, what is this supplement? And it just right away will give me the breakdown of that supplement instead of having to go into Google and look for the perfect way that it's described. I can say, how would this supplement benefit me? And what would be the downsides of it? Is it even worth me to take it? Because ChatGPT knows so much about me, it's kind of like just a very quick way to learn about a supplement or a tool or find the benefits of this thing that I heard someone talk about. So it's just so much quicker and efficient way for me to learn instead of having to, go get a book that talks about this subject. I can, in an instant, get the key information that I want to know about a certain subject or thing. Now, the third way that I have used ChatGPT to help improve my life is in my relationships. I, as we all, have relationships where we talk about different topics, and sometimes the two people are having different opinions or debate a certain topic. And ChatGPT has been such a powerful way to understand both points and also just gain some level of clarity when two people have two completely different views on something. And ChatGPT, I think, is great at seeing both viewpoints and then coming with a scientific study for why it is one way over the other. And it just helps both parties feel like we can get to a conclusion because there's both opinions, but then there's also like the scientific studies or proof that it is in one way or the other. If you watch my YouTube video from when I went to Sedona with my mom, a great example of this is we were talking about whether my Red Bull that I was having before my workout or her glass of wine was healthier. And ChatGPT said, well, it explained it in different ways, but did end up saying that long term, the Red Bull that I was having, which didn't have too much caffeine in it either, it was like a smaller one, would be better long term. But then it also gave the reasons as to why Red Bull is not healthy, which we all obviously know it's not. And I was aware that it's not. But wine also is not, the healthiest thing to be drinking every day. So that was just an easy example of a situation where you can ask an expert's advice when two people are having different views on something. And another example is someone close to me. We were having a chat about energy. And I'm someone, I've always said, I feel energy. And the other person has always kind of said, stop talking about energy because there is no such thing as energy. I need like scientific proof and studies and like things that are factual, that are realistic. I can't speak about energy. And I'm like, but can't you understand that like we feel when someone is upset? Even if they say the exact same thing, it's gonna feel different if they're in a good mood or in a not such a good mood. And then when we asked ChatGPT about this and like dove deep into it and spoke about how I'm such a super sensitive human, so I really feel that I feel energies, ChatGPT shared that it's true that the thing that I feel as energy is actually like small little tweaks to someone's tone, expressions, the way they move, the way they speak and express themselves. So what I feel as energy and the thing that I have continued to call energy is actually just mini changes in expression and tone and mimics that the other person or I have in my body. And it was just a great way to get a little bit more clear on what I meant with energy and what the other person meant with there not being such a thing as energy, and having a more of a expert advice or someone from the outside coming in and understanding my point, understanding the other person's point. And also, since I am a sensitive person, we asked ChatGPT, okay, well, what's the best way that both parties can learn to communicate in an even better way with someone who's super sensitive and someone who is very just goes with the facts and realistic and does not care about the energy, but cares more about the words that are said or just has a different way of life. And it was just really valuable having someone from the outside understand both parties and us understanding one another and then understanding what we would need to do to have the best type of communication moving forward. So ChatGPT is also really something that can help communication and just relationships as a whole if you are willing to involve it in any challenges that potentially comes up in your relationships. And that leads me to number 4, which is that I use ChatGPT as a therapist. If I am ever uncertain of something or I feel like I'm challenged with a certain situation in my life, instead of going to a therapist, which I think we should never not go to therapists if we need it. I have my mom who's a therapist and I use her a lot, but sometimes it can be useful with just small little questions, things that we go through, share it with AI and get its feedback. And maybe share what you need in that day. Like maybe you need some brutal, honesty as to what you need to do to level up. And sometimes maybe you just need some really supportive guidance and different ways that you can navigate a certain challenge that you're going through in your life. You can ask ChatGPT really deep questions in order to figure out what your patterns are and potentially how to get out of those patterns. And just for clarity, if you feel anxious or stuck or don't know what your next move could be, it can really come up with some powerful ideas as to how we can move forward and feel better. Whether we choose to take its advice or not, that's up to us, right? Always use your own brain and do the thing that feels right. Because ChatGPT can really have some mistakes, and we got to use our own human brain to determine what's right and what's not right for us. You can even, unless you're part of my transformation challenge, my Dream Life Society community, you can ask it to come up with journaling questions for this specific thing that you're going through at this very moment. Or you can join my Dream Life Society or my November challenge, which starts so soon, and get all of my journaling challenges. So every single day, there are different journaling prompts. And I have so many different journaling challenges that kind of work through the specific things that you're going through in your life currently. Like I've just been going through my It's Go Time journal, and I kid you not, the amount of progress I make when I go through the It's Go Time journal is absolutely wild, because it forces you to think outside of the box as to different actions you can take every single day to actually move the needle and not just stay stagnant and do the repetitive things over and over and over that don't actually help you progress and 10x your speed at which you're moving towards your goal. And also you get all of my different recipes. We now have over 300 recipes inside of my app, and we're also including all of my ultimate viral high protein recipes from my cookbook. And you get my different workout programs depending on your goals and preferences. And if you're traveling, or if you're working at home, or if you have a gym, if you're competing, I have all of my different workout programs in there that we personalize to you and your specific goals and what you want your day to look like. There's so much goodness in there. And in 20 minutes, I'm actually even jumping on a community call where we dive deep and set intentions and keep each other accountable. It's a beautiful community, and I would love to welcome you. And we are also giving away $1,500 in prizes for this month to the winners. So I'm just really excited, and I would love to welcome you into my community. And yeah, it's going to be freaking powerful. And we have 2 months left of the year, so it's a good time to get started. Now, another way that you can use ChatGPT to help you with your life, which is also something that I help my community with inside my Dream Life Society, but if you want like an external someone to help you do this, is the reason we're not seeing results is because we haven't created the plan. We haven't made clear on what do our daily habits need to look like, what do our schedule needs to look like. And a lot of us are so busy, so we feel like, oh my gosh, journaling in the morning is almost impossible. I don't have time for it. Or how do I make sure to eat healthy when I'm living such a really busy life? And you can literally insert all of your schedule into ChatGPT and say your challenges as to how can you fit in the different things and work out a schedule with ChatGPT. You can do it yourself too. That's what I do. I do it myself, but I know that some of my community members have used ChatGPT to just plan it out, how to make time for the different things to help you find solutions rather than looking at the challenges as to why you can't eat healthy, why you can't work out, why you can't go to bed earlier, all of the different excuses that we tell ourselves. We could use ChatGPT to really plan it out and schedule our life. You can also use it to challenge your thoughts. You can ask it to argue the opposite of your opinion on something. It may help you see blind spots and just help you evolve as a human. If you're someone who wants to not see the world in this square that you have been taught to see the world in, you can also use it to summarize. If you have been wanting to read a book or read something, a long study, you can ask it to summarize the key points for you so that you can just go through the book or the study or whatever it is in such shorter amount of time. And the last thing that I want to share that you could do is if you want to plan a trip, oh my goodness, I know that so many people spend so long on planning their trips, but you can ask ChatGPT, I'm going to this place or I want to go to this place. What would be the best way for me to schedule my trip? I've also done this in my relationships. It's been like, we want to do something fun on Sunday night. What could be a fun thing to do in Vegas on this night? And then it'll come up with different events or just like a schedule that you can do to create a fun day. So it just simplifies the process of planning anything and everything. AI can be a powerful tool, and I know that many of us are scared of what it can lead to in the future, but if we use it in the right way without losing ourselves and losing the things that we find value within, I think it can just help us improve our life in the best way possible. And like with anything, like with social media and everything else in our life, it all depends on how we choose to utilize it, what we choose to use it for. And we're in control of that. We're in control as to whether we want to use it to learn and to grow and to just speed up the progress of anything that we're working towards. It's a nice friend to have if we use it in the right way. And I hope that some of the things I shared with you today were helpful, or that you just liked the little noise in your ears as you were running around doing your day to day. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I'm really excited for a lot of podcast guests that we are having come on the show here over the next couple of weeks. I have made a lot of solo episodes recently because I've had a lot of other things going on, so that's been my focus. But now we're bringing back guests on the show, and I'm really excited to dive in with you. And just so grateful you're here. I hope you go out there and have a beautiful day. And as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norms.